fully supports development of an underpass along the historic Iditarod Trail at Burma Road and the use of the trail along the historic alignment within the trail easement. As you are aware, this location was adjudicated by the state of Alaska, and the existence of a 100-foot wide RS 24/7 easement and the rights of the public to continue to use this vital historic route was affirmed by the courts, Dixon versus the state. This proposal will address a major safety issue for all trail users along this route, the safe crossing of a road with vehicular traffic where issues with line of sight and ability to quickly react can lead to tragic results. We encourage the borough to approve the underpass and to select the well-documented and legal easement for the historic Iditarod Trail at the crossing of Burma Road. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Sincerely, Jonathan Sewell. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna DeFusco. Doug Barco is next after Donna.
Good evening. My name is Donna Cowart. Thank you, Assembly Member McKee, for allowing this reconsideration of the Burma Road underpass. Last week, several sports enthusiasts spoke, but we didn't learn anything about accident dates, times, locations, damage information, injury reports, or any type of safety investigation documentation. Where is the comparison of the traffic volume counts, especially at the proposed underpass location? I've only heard emotional hearsay, and I'm still asking, where's the data that justifies a $760,000 expenditure of borough or federal tax dollars? Speaking of which, we need to respect the federal tax dollars too. Every person with a job and every employer in this borough contribute to the federal tax dollars, and federal tax money should not be spent frivolously on unnecessary projects either. As a sports participant myself, I want to remind everyone that as any participation in sports activities come with inherent risks. Competing and training in sports is a personal decision. Sports are fun and healthy, but the public taxpayer and the private property owners should not shoulder the financial burden to provide an unnecessary underpass that only benefits a small number of people. One of the callers last week said that the underpass is not going on private property. That caller was mistaken. This underpass is proposed to be built on my private property. By sending me an annual tax bill and accepting my money in payment, the borough is recognizing that me as a property owner. With regards to RS 2477 rights, the State of Alaska website clearly states the underlying landowner may use the land in any fashion that does not interfere with reasonable use of the right of way. As the private property owner, I own the trees, the dirt, the gravel. Those are examples of the resources that are privately owned. How is the borough going to justify the excessive destruction of private property that this underpass is going to require, especially when reasonable low-cost options like stop signs, posting and enforcing speed limits, and use of volunteer event trail guards are available? Another speaker last Tuesday mentioned they were not going to stop people from using the Iditarod National Historic Trail. The INHT was negotiated with property owners over 40 years ago. People should absolutely use the INHT. It's located on the north boundary of my property, and it's been improved over the years with borough tax money. We have donated property. My family has donated property to the public easement, and on top of that, there is at least a 33-foot wide easement beyond that, which gives the public a 15-foot wide road named Moore Road and plenty of room for recreation activities along it. It's already cleared, it's on a section line. If you insist on wasting $750,000 in tax money, it should make more sense to locate the underpass on the Iditarod National Historic Trail.
Thank you. Doug Barco.
Yes, I'm Doug Bartko, and I just wanted to let you know that I've been involved with a small sled dog race from Knik out to the Nome sign along the Iditarod Trail. Actually, we've been holding the race for about 15 years. And Terry Langholtz and I have been preparing the race. And Terry has marked the trail for us for all those years. And he knows he's the go-to person for trails out there if you have any questions. I've, as a previous musher, I've used that area as a kid with Joe Reddington going out there. He used to have a tent out the Little Sioux River, and we've used that. I know just from personal experience that it's used by that area by snow machiners, cross-country skiers, and mushers. And I would like to say that the snow machiners have been pretty good about keeping their speed down and respecting the trail. It's one of the best trails in the world. And we need to give the Iditarod Trail preference over, any further development and maintain that trail for everyone to use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barco. Let's see, Dee McKee. And Laura Kelly's after Dee.
My name is Dee McKee, MCKEE. My maiden name is Kelly. I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska. As a child, I was a musher. We delivered our newspaper route by dog team in the wintertime. My brother-in-law was a sprint musher. My niece was a junior North American musher. In other words, I've been in dog mushing until I came down here all my life. So I can't imagine that there's a person in this room that isn't for dog mushing and for the safety that has to accompany that in any other sport. It's just part of who we are as Alaskans. So nobody is saying, especially me or anybody else that I know, don't do this. What we're saying is have a look. The lady that was up here before, there really hasn't been anything done. We had a lot of, and it was emotional testimony as well, it would be. But we can't spend $740,000 or $50,000 based on emotional testimony. We have to have some figures. And that's not the only dog mushing crossing in the borough. I mean, everywhere, Fairbanks and here you go, there's a sign that says dog mushing crossing. I guess one of the things that just bothered me when I was here, just came tonight, it was, okay, so if we do this one and then we have a problem someplace else, then do we do another $740,000? The idea is we got to check out the alternatives before we spend that kind of money on this. How many of you guys up here have been on Burma Road and seen this area? Okay, we got a couple. I was stunned. When I heard the first thing in Willow, when we had 26 people testifying, all mushers testifying in favor of this, and I would have been right up there with them, I said, well, of course we got to do this. Then I went out and looked at Burma Road and I thought, geez, Louise, we had one truck when we were out there in the whole 20-mile stretch. I think that's what it is. There was some big foofara about shift change at the prison. I don't know when they changed shifts, but we've been out there a couple of times and traffic is like non-existent. Something has to be done, and we don't want PETA in here, and that would absolutely kill us if we did have an accident. But it's not don't do it. It's wait a minute, check it out. What alternatives are available that can be actually put into place? My kids were barrel racers, and there's the electronic eye. When you cross that barrier, the time starts. Well, I know we don't have power out there. I assume we don't. Do we have power? No, we don't. But there are other ways of getting power to a battery or solar. I don't know, but somebody else who knows much more about it than I. And as soon as a musher is way back there, because of course if he stops his team and gets out to the road, that gets back there to start the team again, the traffic's going to be flying, or could be. So of course that wouldn't make any sense. But if you had something that would trip a stop sign, a flashing red light, something, a railroad crossing kind of thing that came down, when the mushers, I don't know, Vern, how long would it be? 200 feet back on the trail or something like that. They said, hey, don't, stop. Because right now on the trail that they are using, that the other lady that was talking about, that there's, you got a sign that says dog musher crossing or something like that. And 2 seconds later, you'd be like right in the middle of the dog team. So I think we should do it, but I think we should check out the alternatives. Thanks very much.
Okay, did I have Laura Kelly? And then Jim Ewells following Laura.
Hello, my name's Laura Kelly. I guess my biggest concern is much like most of the mushers, the safety. I have a 15-year-old who's out there on the trail. She can't see. I mean, people aren't able to stop. I would like the borough to reconsider this. This is definitely an important issue for us and many people in the area. My husband mushes, we all mush as a family. Several times we've had very close calls out there. If it's something we could think about, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Jim Ewell. Is Jim here? There he goes. There he is. And Russ DeFusco is following Jim.
Good evening. My name is Jim Ewell. Why am I here? Well, we thought this was taken care of last week. Something happened. Another reason that I'm here is there was a young lady that got up and spoke last week that says that crossing is not dangerous. I beg to differ. I've lived here for 44 years. I've worked with the Aurora dog mushers as well as the junior Iditarod. Been out there as a trail guard at that crossing more times than I can even tell you. It's been a lot. I've been a groomer, marker, road guard, etc. Our kids in the junior Iditarod run and train by day and night on that trail. Trail is used by Aurora dog mushers in their 25-25, 50-50 races, Connect 200, Dr. Bartko race, and others, by dog teams, snowmobilers, ski joers, pulp teams, cross-country skiers, snowshoers, snow bikers, etc. It's not just one group, many groups, many people. We need a permanent and safe crossing for all of our users. When I first came here, 9 Mile Hill was it. 9 miles up, 9 seconds down. They changed that, I don't know who or why, to Khyber Pass, and at least 2 others in the meantime. Dan Hutton, who I'm sure we'll address later on, had a situation there, and Dan's not the only one, where his team was hit. The dogs lived, as I understand, they were none of the same. Took about a year for them to recover. They ran in a team, and it just wasn't like it used to be. Hey, boss, I'm not doing that anymore. Okay, cost of a safe crossing, it is expensive. Anything worthwhile is expensive. I heard a couple of years ago, 600,000. Now it's, what is it, 730,000 is the last figure I heard. What's going to be the cost later on? The longer we wait, the more Burma Road is going to improve. Someday, I look at it as a very possible main route between Point McKenzie and Points North. That's going to be a lot more traffic. It's going to be a lot cheaper to put that bypass in, or underpass, overpass, whatever you want to call it, and whatever you decide on now than later on. The main point here, as far as I'm concerned, is what is the value of a life, be it a dog's life, an adult's life, or God forbid, a kid's life? Whose responsibility is it? All of our responsibility. Each of you up here, you're the movers and the shakers. And it's our responsibility as the citizens to let you know what we mean moved and shaken. All of our responsibilities, including myself and everybody in the audience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Russ DeFusco.
Good evening. My name is Russ DeFusco. I'm a retired military veteran, and along with my wife, own the property along Burma Road upon which this proposed project would be built. Thank you for reconsidering this costly, ill-conceived project that we believe should be relocated more appropriately, if not terminated altogether. First, the alleged new trail has been mislocated and has not been used by anyone for at least the 63 years that we've owned this property. The borough's own LiDAR imagery clearly shows the actual historic Iditarod Trail crossing Burma Road just over 4 miles north of our property. The state withheld this information during litigation and instead fabricated an elaborate ruse to create this new discontinuous segment of trail crossing our property that does not even connect to any other trails. The court also awarded a second trail, not a quarter mile south of the proposed new trail along the alleged Homestead Road. There is yet a third trail that also crosses our property at the Burma Road, and that is the Iditarod National Historic Trail, the INHT. We believe that many of the people who have commented on this project have confused the new trail segment with the INHT or with Homestead Road. You'd be kidding yourself if you think that people will stop using the existing Burma Road crossing routes just to go out of their way to go through a disconnected tunnel, and therefore the safety issues will not be resolved. You've also heard that there was a survey conducted in 1983 to locate the historic trail, but a survey does not equate to an actual physical presence of the trail. Prior to that, in 1978, the Congress of the US had already created the Iditarod National Historic Trail, or the INHT, a portion of which lies on the northern edge of our property. It was specifically located to avoid precisely the current situation, minimizing impact on private property owners, and vacated the locations of any other historic trail alignments. Your predecessors at the Mat-Su Borough were signatories to the creation of the INHT, and this project would negate those historic agreements, which we supported at the time and we continue to support today. In short, we believe the proposed project is inappropriately located, will not eliminate any alleged safety concerns, is exorbitantly wasteful of taxpayer money, and should therefore be reconsidered. If, however, you are determined to go through with this using federal funding, then it should be instead expended on the existing federally created INHT just to the north of the proposed new project location. And we would absolutely support that. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, Bob Kupach.
I don't have my teleprompter, so I have to read with this in front of me. If I don't make eye contact, I apologize. We moved from the Mirror Lake area near Chugiak to Willow in 1976, prior to completion of the 4-lane highway across the hay flats. My trail haunts at that time were Campbell Track in Anchorage, Beach Lake Trails in Chugiak, Iditarod Trail out of Knik, Aurora Trails at Big Lake, Hatcher Pass, Trapper Creek, and home trails in and around Willow. Types of user groups then were not as diverse as they are today. South Central grew in leaps and bounds. Other trails were just far enough removed that pedestrian tunnels were not in the dialogue. At Willow, trails I once used now required guidance because of increased vehicular traffic from residential and user groups. Trail accessing became more diverse. Trail road crossings now became an issue. On a regular basis, I could no longer expect a friend or a neighbor to be present at road crossings to stop traffic or warn me of oncoming cars. Trails I used for years, at any time during the day or night, I quit using. I had no interest in playing Russian roulette with an automobile. It is not about political bias or entitlements, but something to benefit all, and that is safety. Safety for every type of outdoor user group there is. There's parallel examples in Anchorage on the Tudor Tract. All through the Rendezvous Trail in Anchorage, there's tunnels. Chugiak has tunnels to avoid all the conflicts with vehicles. Vehicular drivers now on back roads are a time bomb waiting to explode, having no regard as to speed or driving with cautionary measures. In the 70s and 80s, my job required on occasion traveling on Burma Road. To do so required a high lift jack, come along, lots of extra chain, and shovels. That is obviously not true today. As increased usage of road resources occurs, greater cautionary measures are needed. Safety is obvious. The Alaska Railroad provided safe thoroughfare along their right-of-way from Houston to Point McKenzie. Picture this, a family outing via snow-go, cross-country skiing, dog mushing, or whatever your choice is to be out in the outdoors. Then picture a speeding driver. It just takes one perfect storm and someone's child is gone forever. Do you want to be that parent? I advocate safe passage measures under the Burma Road. Thank you.
And for the record, that was Bob Klupach from Willow speaking. Scott Smith. Then Sherry DeCursey follows.
Folks, do we really need to wait for somebody to get hurt or killed out there? I mean, let's get this project done. You know, I'm in agreement with the gentleman who said it's only going to get more expensive. Now's the time to do it. Let's not wait. Let's not put a price on a human life. Thank you.
Scott Smith from Willow. Sherry DeCursey, there she is. Terry Langholz follows Sherry.
Hi, thank you for your time tonight. Emotional heresy was mentioned earlier by one of the previous speakers. And this has nothing to do with that at all. It has to do with all of the people in the back who have had experience on the trail and understand the dangers of that intersection. Cars can't see us coming. We can't see them coming. There's snow berms that are always in the way. Speeding cars are a problem. Drivers who miss the signs, impaired drivers, drivers who see the signs but decide they don't want to slow down, is truly issues out there that we are contending with. Ice and snow on the road makes it harder for cars who do see you to stop. If you've got 50 to 70 feet between your lead dog and you on the sled, you're really in a precarious situation. The fact that a car could hit, let's say, 2 dogs, that's awful enough, but then you think about the construction of the sled, and it's just gonna suck all the lines and the rest of the dogs and the mushers into the path of the car or under the car. So we have this wonderful heritage with the Iditarod Trail. We have people who use it, who want to be safe on it, children who are running on it, bringing mushing into the future. And I just hope we can maintain that tradition and do so safely without loss of life. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Terry Langholz. Then Tim Cornelius is after Terry.
Yep, my name is Terry Langholz. I live in Kinnick and I travel that trail lots and lots of times during the winter. And those people were wrong when they said that the trail doesn't go through there. I have a 1983 survey from the state of Alaska on that trail. And that trail was never vacated because the borough vacated it, but it's a state trail, so the borough can't vacate a state trail. So it's never been vacated. So it never went on that section line. But I'm here just to talk about how unsafe that road crossing is. The state of Alaska, the sport of the state of Alaska is dog mushing. And we don't have a crossing on a historic Iditarod trail for the state sport. And people have got hit there lots of times I know a few people that got hit by cars on the road. This spring, during Doug Barco's race, 2 teams got tangled up there right at the road, and one girl ended up going down Burma Road for a mile because she couldn't get to stop. So, because if there was a crossing there, they could cross safely and not have to go down the road, you know, so that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Cornelius. And then Lisa Reddington follows Tim.
Mr. Mayor, honorable assembly people, the folks back here. My name is Tim Cornelius. I'm co-owner with my wife, the Tug Bar and Liquor. Been involved in dog mushing activities, snow machining activities, trail support from our place to Four Corners coming out of Kinnick and hooking into the Dead Rod. So that's a trail that we've used and love. And one of the main issues, even going from here all the way upriver, probably one of the most dangerous spots is the Burma Road. And when you all approved this, I believe it was back in April, I was in Arizona anticipating heart transplant, where they take your heart out and put it back in. And so I'm about 4 weeks into that process. So, and I forgot my nitro. So if anybody's got some, just in case I fall down here and start spazzing out on that, I'd appreciate it. Throwing me a lifeline. But anyway, I stand in strong support of this. I don't know how many times I'm involved in the race. We do the Goose Bay 150 as our race, and it is now an Iditarod qualifier. So it's, it's an upcoming important race. How many times, and I haul a freight sled and for supplies to get up to our halfway point. I don't know how many times I go to cross Burma Road. There's a big berm across the road on either side of the trail crossing. And then when you get around the corner, it's blocked off because there's a dispute with the landowner and the right of ways. And when I heard that they finally had a solution for this, I was tickled about that. But we need to support the dog mushing community. This is Alaska's sport. And not only that, a lot of people are using that trail. And if you get a nice underpass, overpass, I don't care what you put in there, but there's got to be a safe crossing. It seemed to me like that culvert idea made perfect sense. That's what they're doing in a lot of locations. Yeah, it's a big bullet to bite, but once it's done, there's not going to be much maintenance. I mean, I'll help maintain it, So anyway, I hope you reconsider your reconsideration. Thank you.
Well, you look pretty good for that heart having working on, so. Okay, Lisa Reddington. And then John Brodigan follows Lisa.
Hello. I just want to say that I'm in favor of the crossing, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, for the record, that was Lisa Reddington speaking. John Brodigan.
Hello, how are you guys? I don't know any of you. I know Vern. Well, I know Milky. I hate to be here again. You know how many times I've been here? Not just last week or last April. And it's always the same thing. You put it off. You put it off. One of these days you won't be able to put it off when somebody gets hurt out there. I don't mean to bawl you out, but if you put this off again, it ain't the end of it. We have nowhere else to go. I know about that section line. I worked on that. I worked for this borough. We went out there and cut that hill down a little bit. Didn't help it. You got a road you run down. A guy lives on that hill. They're going to go beyond that hill with that road eventually. I know about these section line easements and putting trails on them. You can still put a road over the top. So that isn't really a good solution. We've been having the trouble for 40 years. 40 years. They've been trying to find a solution, and you guys can solve it. The Supreme Court ruled that was the trail. I hope you guys finally solve our problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Lanier, followed by Anna.
I'll take my mask off now. I feel safe enough up here. So I'm a dog musher. I've been running the Iditarod now 21 times since the 70s. And so I've got lots of experience running the trail out there in the Burma Road vicinity. And over the years, I myself, a couple times had very close calls with vehicles trying to cross that road. And one of the speakers recently talked about how a dog team got on the road and traveled on the road. And when that happens, it can be a disaster because you can't stop a dog team on a road as a rule. And you people may not realize that it's not just getting across the road, it's the danger of a dog team hopping onto the road itself and traveling on the road and running into a vehicle coming head on. That happened to a woman who was running my dog team in a race out there in 2019. And we were very concerned that she was going to have a bad outcome. Somebody went out there and helped her and got her back on the trail, so it all turned out just fine. Now, I don't know anything about land use out there and property owners' considerations. I'm sure that's to be taken into account. But I do know that that crossing is a dangerous place and it needs to be improved. Thanks.
Anna.
Yes, hello everybody. I am pro making this crossing safe, and I would like to speak to the different perspective. One of the speakers said that it's not fair to spend so much money benefiting only small group of mushers. Well, let's think about tourism. Tourism is a huge part of economy for Alaska, and the sled dogs and mushing is a part of the tourism. As a matter of fact, we are running Northern Whites Kennel, and every group that came to Alaska, they came to one or another kennel to see the dogs. Now, in order to show them, you really have to maintain and train and participate in all the races, and that's where we are coming to this the Burner Road, because we live in Chugach. So that's where we train, and we do bring the people from around the world. We had mushers from Spain, from Finland, from Russia, and they are coming from Jamaica, and they run on this road, and they participate in a willow sled dogs race to qualify for a Iditarod. So we are bringing people, and we want to make sure that crossing is safe. So when they qualify or participate in the races, nothing bad happens, because that shows Alaska in a very bad view. Without that crossing, the mushing is already dangerous. But this is something that is out of the musher's control, and that needs to be safe to keep our tourism expanding, and to make sure that all people who are coming and participating in mushing and in sled dogs racing and in tourism are safe.
Okay,
Thank
could
you.
you state your name for the record real quick, the clerk?
Anna Bondarenko.
Yep, thank you very
Bon-
much. Appreciate it. Okay, well, that's all on the sign-up list. Are there any telephonics? Okay, we have a telephonic caller, so please go ahead on the telephone.
Thank you. Kelly Dixon, Dickson. Just south of Big Lake is a very large area of land used by the Aurora Dog Mushers. The Aurora Dog Mushers Club had an agreement with the borough and state for over 4,000 acres to be used for mushers and their children to train and race on safely. The club also owns at least 40 acres, which were purchased from the borough in 2014. This trail system is recognized for this particular use, but the lands are open to other uses which are non-motorized. Their website states that many local professional dog mushers use this area for training. The 1914 Davidson map, in addition to others, shows the Iditarod Trail surveyed from Knik to Section 17 and is identified as a government trail Knik to Susitna. Sections 17 and 18 are part of the Aurora Trails. That is why they have purposely stopped identifying the historic Iditarod Trail on subsequent maps in that area showing the same surveyed trail. Instead, they are misrepresenting a tractor trail leading from Knik to 7 Mile Lake and beyond as the Iditarod Trail. They care nothing for the words Iditarod Trail, except for how they can exploit them to get more trails. They care nothing for Alaska's tree trail history, or they would honor the historic maps which prove the 1908 trail went from Knik to Big Lake and then Susitna Station, and the 1912 realignment, which was surveyed from Knik through section 17, and then mapped to Stephen Lake and across to Susitna Station, as shown on the 1951 to 57 Alaska Road Commission Mount McKinley District map. Sadly, the 4,000 acres weren't enough for them. The INHT at Moore Road was not enough for them. They just had to have 2 additional trails on our property that directly parallel the INHT and are a quarter of a mile or less from each other. This is absolutely unnecessary. The INHT has been located and used on Moore Road for decades. A well-known musher called my husband at work one day and said he knew a guy who was ready to plow down the middle of our property. That is how they work. They also tend to claim injuries without providing accident reports. The state then makes presentations to the Iditarod Trail Committee about the progress they're making in taking easements from property owners. People need to start asking the mushers how much money they are currently giving the state and how much they've given it in the past to do their bidding. This unharnessed greed for trails and total disregard for Alaska's history must end. It is illogical to think Burma Road needs an underpass, while KGB is a road with cross memorials representing deceased loved ones on its shoulders. Thank you.
Okay, any more telephonics? Anybody else in the audience wish, well, come on forward, we'll come up one at a time. And state your name for the record and go ahead and speak.
My name is Dan Huttonen. As you've heard, I was one of the people that got their dog team run over at the Burma Road crossing. There will be others if nothing's done. It's going to happen. It's just a question of when. I wasn't injured. My dogs were. Sooner or later, somebody's going to get injured or killed. And then there will be a lot of hand-wringing. And then you'll do something. And it's not going to be any cheaper. Another thing that you guys may not realize is that once you leave Knik Lake on a trail, that's the only road crossing we have. If we get across that, and it's not just dog mushers, it's skiers. A lot of people ski, ski jor, a lot of snow machines. Once we get across Burma Road, the next stop is known. The next road. It really is an important crossing. So I hope it's not just another one and you do this one and boom, there's another one. This really is an important one and it's really dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kelly Maxner. I live out in that area and I've mushed on that trail. I'm not a musher anymore. I'm retired. I do have 5 kids and we use that trail all the time in the winter. We don't do it with dogs anymore. We do it with snow machines. I have a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, and 6-year-old this year. And they all have their own snow machine. We go out fishing on Flathorn Lake out there. Every time we cross that road, it's dangerous. Not only with the dog team, but with the snow machine. Also, every time I'm on that trail, I pretty much see a skijorer, a fat tire biker, another snow machiner, a runner. There's a lot of winter runners now. I always see somebody on that trail when I'm out there, not just mushers. So I'm not even a musher anymore, but it's a very important crossing. And like he said, once you leave Knik Lake and get out there, there is nothing else till Nome. I always joke with my kids, I'm like, we can go to Nome from here, and there's no other road crossings. So there's no other road crossings out there, and it's very unsafe. So.
Okay, thank you.
Hello there. My name is John Trempush. I'm a retired teacher, taught history and Alaska studies. And this kind of reminds me of something. I'm not going to talk to you about safety because you've heard enough of that. But this is the closing of Frontier. This is when one thing turns into another. And as they pointed out, this is the only road that the Iditarod trail system, that the Aurora mushing, what do they call it? They call it the Knik Spud, the Iditarod Special Use District. There's a whole history of mushing and now other uses, fat tire bikes and skiing. There's a whole history of people that want to be outside. The one place that they got to deal with civilization is Burma Road. And I'll tell you, I've been on Burma Road for 20 years. I got a cabin on the north end of Ridge Road there, and it is faster traffic more often. And that I've watched the mushers there negotiate one way across, another way across, begging for a third way now. Every time they come up with something, civilization just makes it harder and harder. More road is not a possibility. That's over a half a mile steep hill, plowed. I've passed mushers coming down that, and we made it. It's not a good option. It really isn't a good option at all. And what they were doing before, new landowners, they have a perfect right to think about private property and stuff, but there's a Commonwealth interest in some of this too. We have a heritage of love of winter, love of outdoors, and we're choking it off if we don't give them a way to get across the road. That 4,000 acres, that's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing. That's nothing. It's not how you run a long race. You need distance, and that's the only spot where people are going to really be hurt. So I really hope you take that into account. This is how we cross into this new era. It really depends on you guys, and we really need to think about keeping that heritage alive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Wayne Curtis. I've lived on KGB Road since 1992 and moved here for the history, to be close to where Joe Reddington helped bring back the Iditarod, the mushing lifestyle. And I can tell you, in every business that I've been involved in, they always tell you safety first. You can't fix somebody that's hurt. You can pay them if they get hurt in a job, but you can't fix them. Not always. There have been other governing bodies in Anchorage that have built multi-use trails with tunnels and with huge million-dollar bridges, not only for skiing, biking, summer, but for the Iditarod for Ronde. They have tunnels in Chugiak around the dog mushing trails there. Those are gorgeous, have improved the safety to where there is never a car crossing or a problem. We also have a gorgeous underpass bridge on the railroad spur going out that's on the Iditarod Trail, and believe me, it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. You're in God's country. Here comes a nice bridge, it's a railroad, but then you realize there's a bridge under it for you and your dogs, your team, your bicycles, or whatever. This trail is our history. It's also our future. And if we lose something like this because enough people get hurt or anybody gets hurt, no one's going to want to go there. They just won't. They've already moved the race to Willow, and that's a shame. The Iditarod race is now starting in Willow and not in Knik or Wasilla, where it originally was. It doesn't go by our history of Knik, Joe Reddington Sr.'s home. And also, as a member of the Aurora Dog Mushers board now, we're not only do we lease some land, we're pushing juniors. We're bringing in the future of our sport. And the Winter Arctic Games will soon be in Alaska and Matanuska Valley. Your home and mine is going to be a host to that. And a lot of that is kids. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Smith.
Hi, I'm Ramey Smith, and I've been using that trail since I was a little kid. Didn't used to be a lot of cars there, but now there's a lot, and I think we should do whatever it takes to protect and upgrade trails for the future posterity. It's very valuable historically and for the future people. You know, the Iditarod Trail out predates any of us here living, and I think it's worth protecting. And it's very important that kids using it and all kinds of recreational users are safe when they're crossing. And I think all upgrades for this are a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Larson. And I think that the trail is, the culvert or the crossing is important for safety reasons. But what concerns me is the money. We can't just run out there and get a harebrained idea and throw money at it. We have here on this map, it would be Angel Street here, and that's a section line, and there's 4 sections come together there. Now, those ladies that own this property, that section line goes between them. And you've also got that big right-of-way that comes up, and then it goes right up Angel Street. And if you build that crossing, you should put it where it's gonna be permanent. Over here in the brush where Burma Road roams around, that ain't permanent. You're gonna spend $740,000 and 2 weeks later or a month, maybe a year and a half. Oh, we're gonna change it? Don't make sense to me. Now, as near as I've been able to understand, Moore Road is the official Iditarod Trail, according to Congress. National Historic Trail, is that correct? Now, I took a dozer up there 3-4 years ago, and I didn't doze where John Brodigan and the Matsu Burrow was up there playing with them 2 D5s and that little excavator. They didn't move enough dirt. I could have packed it in a wheelbarrow for $50,000. I took the old 8 up there and built a road up there for that guy that bought the property and lives there, and it would be nothing to shove that hill on over. But that doesn't address the problem of crossing Burma Road. And Burma Road's an important problem, and safety is a problem. But we got to remember, we can't do every crossing on Connect Road. We can't do Horizon Drive. We're not talking just dogs. We're talking people, bicycles, 4-wheelers, snow machines, horses. I don't care. So this has got to service everybody with public money. It can't just service one. Now, I do take exception sometimes to things. And I'm not sure exactly what Barb was alluding to when she said her and all these other people, and they all raised their hand. Oh, we go through there. They don't go through this green trail. I've lived right there 30 years. Not one person has went through whatever they want to call it, RS 2247, whatever. They use this trail, this red one that comes up off the lake. Then they got down here, and this used to be a borough parcel. And they went across it, or they came right down Moore Road and they crossed. Now, the thing on Moore Road is where those 2 sisters are at. There's only 33 feet on my side. The other 33 feet needs to be vacated so the public has the right of way. It's just a half a mile, and it can be done legally.
Okay, thank you.
Kicking me out?
Well, kind of.
Oh, I didn't know I went on that long.
3 minutes, the bell rang.
But anyway,
We
I'm
appreciate it.
not against it. I just want to see it
Done right.
a little more frugal.
Done right, okay. Gotcha. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay.
Ray Reddington Jr. If you were going in there today to build Burma Road, and there's no cul-de-sac at the end of Burma Road. It goes straight over to Big Lake, goes right to Parks Highway. You can go wherever you want from there. But if you guys were building Burma Road today, would you guys have a culvert for the Iditarod Trail? The railroad don't even have tracks. They put us a crossing in
over the Iditarod Trail. Every one of these people that have called in to complain about not having this culvert are all people that have blocked that section of trail off on us. We've done everything we could to figure out where we are supposed to be at. And that trail we have not been able to use since 1985. It's in the court documents, all the way to the Supreme Court. So we want to put the culvert where the culvert's supposed to go. We're gonna have to get out there with the chainsaw and do some brushing. We're willing to do that for a safe crossing. But I just ask everybody in this room, if you were going to build Burma Road today, knowing where it's going, would you have a culvert? Would the job require a culvert and a safe crossing? Now with COVID last year hit, I've mushed on that trail a lot, and last year was crazy. You couldn't buy a pair of skis. You couldn't find a bicycle. You couldn't buy a snow machine. You couldn't buy anything. I've seen so many people out there last year, when they get to Kinnick Lake, they think, wow, we're out on a trail and we can go. And these bicyclers and skiers, they're a different breed of people. I mean, I get out there 25, 30 miles and I don't think, yeah, they're 2 a.m. now, there's nobody around. Here they come. I mean, they're out there, and in Kinnick, you know, people go there. In the whole Matsu Valley, where can you go and jump on a bicycle and ride as far as you want to ride, pitch a tent, stay the night, and go back in the morning? That's the trail. And again, that is a National Historic Trail. And when you hear the property owners over here saying, hey, more road, Homestead Road, they're in a National Historic Trail on a road. We want to be on the National Historic Trail, and that's where the culvert's supposed to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Come on forward, young lady. Just state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Breeze Willette. I have to read from a paper because I'm not good at talking in public. First, I would like to say these dogs they run are not just dogs. They are their life, their blood, and have been a huge part of Alaskan heritage for close to 100 years. Not only do we run our dogs for sport, but some of us still use them today as a means of transporting supplies from one point to another and transportation for ourselves as well. By putting in a bridge on Burma Road, or culvert, whatever, you will be saving the lives of many dogs and many people. As for all the people who oppose or disapprove of a bridge going in, I'm almost pretty sure they've probably never run dogs, nor would they know what it feels like to not know there is a public road in front of them, be crossing that road, then start praying to God because a truck is barreling towards them and their team. Myron and I, who run dogs, have been in that situation, and I can honestly say it is not only bone-chilling, but to say the least scary. I truly 100% believe that putting in a Burma bridge will prevent future accidents and even deaths. Point McKenzie is not as it used to be. There isn't just 1 or 2 people out there anymore. Many more people have moved out there, and in turn, there is a lot more traffic than what most of us would like for it to be. As my family and I drive down Burma Road, we pass about 7 to 10 vehicles. That is 7 to 10 vehicles that could hit and either severely injure or even kill a dog team at the Iditarod Trail and Burma Road 4-way crossing. I believe I speak for all dog mushers and teams when I say we would like for you all to very strongly consider funding and building the Burma Road Bridge. It will save lives. That is all. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, we have another telephonic, so go ahead on the telephone, please.
Hi, my name is Tim Krug, K-R-U-G. I'm a former civil engineer, federal NEPA coordinator, licensed architect, live on Burma Road. I've been trying to talk to you guys for decades on this. I've been the city planner of Wasilla. I've helped with the restart 3 times. I met my wife at Connect 200 30 years ago. So anyhow, I'm just trying to, I do believe there is alternatives. I do believe location where the proposed contract will have some hiccups and does not work with Burma alignment noted on our deed. Alignment is 200 feet, straight line easement, and sight lines could easily achieve for safety of drivers and mushers. Could continue using Homestead Road Trail. That's what's always been used. This Iditarod part has an RS-2477. I don't know when it's been last used. Long time ago. I've been out here like 25 years. And you could either take eminent domain where the trail was blocked. Another choice is you could run trail in the 200-foot easement to my southern border, which could lead to DNR trails that lead to Jewel Lake. We have good gravel in the area, and Burma Road in this section could be improved with a trail for much less than $750,000. I really am disappointed that this assembly and this mayor does not listen to any of our local concerns. And when people are talking about, oh, you know, we're just going to put another trail, well, you're going to, you know, tear up these people's property. How many trails do you need across these people's property? I think it'd be much wiser to start talking to them about doing Burma Road improvements. You could, basically, you got a straight line. You could put almost 3,000 feet of road in and a 200-foot easement and get a nice straight easement or trail and road. And our neighbors on the southern side of my property are both dog mushers. One's in the Iditarod finisher. And, but you guys have been total failures on listening to the property owners. Thank you.
Any other telephonics? Okay, anyone else in the audience? Otherwise, I'm going to close out the audience participation at this time, which I'll do. So we'll close that. Madam Clerk, please read AM 21077.
Awarded proposal number 22007P to K&H Civil Constructors LLC for the contract amount of $740,000 for historic Iditarod Trail underpass at Burma Road, design build.
Okay, Senator McKee, do you have a motion to reconsider?
I do.
Oh, you have reconsidered your reconsider.
I move to reconsider AM 21-07. I move to reconsider AM 21-077.
Okay, no.
Now, I have a question for the clerk. Okay. I'm assuming the next step on this, that I can't speak to this, even though I've done a 3-page memo that I apparently no one out there has read. I'm assuming the mayor is going to veto this right now before I can speak to it. Is that correct?
No.
Or can I speak to it before he does it?
No. Why don't we listen to Madam Clerk and then, okay, Madam Clerk, tell somebody how this works.
At this point, you can debate reconsideration on points of reconsideration, not necessarily the AM, so you got to be careful in that. If you choose to reconsider, it takes 4 votes. If it gets 4 votes, then you're right back to where prior to the main motion passing the last one. So then the AM's open again. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
So it's on the motion to reconsider now. So there's going to be a debate and vote on the motion to reconsider. We'll take care of that. Depending on how that vote goes, we'll either move on or not move on. So go ahead, Mr. McKee.
Well, the motion to reconsider, interestingly enough, was not made to kill the project. In fact, a motion for reconsideration in this case was nothing more than an effort to, in fact, get information that is not available. I would point out that my motion was, in fact, inspired by, initially, by the fact that when I requested information on this project, I was told there was no information, that there had been no engineering analysis, there had been no construction estimates, there had been no analysis of history. There was absolutely no data on this project, okay? And so at that point, I thought, no, wait a minute. Why not reconsider? If we're going to spend $740 of the property taxpayers' money, maybe to many people, that isn't a lot of money. I want to tell you, $740,000 is a lot of money to me, okay? And so I think it is worthwhile reconsidering how we go about this. Not that in fact we kill the project. That was never the intent. Anybody that's read my 3-page memorandum, and I don't think anybody out there did. In fact, it was not to kill the project. It was in fact to get data so that we can do it right. That's it.
Anybody else on the motion to reconsider? We have to dispense with that. Anyone else want to speak on it? Mr. Yant?
Thanks. Thank you, Assemblyman McKee, for clarifying. I'm glad to hear that you're not wanting to kill the project. This means a lot to me. I grew up out there. I've never been on a dog sled, but I do know the area very well. I was there last week, actually. So I have a question through the mayor for the manager. How many bids were put forth for this project?
Okay, looks like Mr. Kraft is coming forward.
Russ Kraft, Purchasing Director, through the mayor to Assemblymember Yount. So this was a design build proposal. There were 4 submittals. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So again, with all due respect, I appreciate where George is coming from on this. I don't think anybody up here wants to see us spending money that we shouldn't be spending or wasting it in any way, shape, or form. But I've been on multiple design build projects in the past, and the problem with some of them is sometimes you don't have all those answers, and it's not possible up front. And then a lot of times it falls on the contractor who wins that. There's no proven science or formula on how you win a design build bid. It's a very difficult process for the person who's bidding on it. It's a difficult process for the people who determine who wins. And I've not pulled the information on this. I've not fine-tooth combed it. I'm, no intentions of doing that. I believe the staff probably did a great job and had 4 amazing proposals to look at. There are probably some unanswered questions, but I can't imagine that the gentleman or the team that won this bid doesn't have those answers and solutions. And so George, I want to say thanks for bringing this forth. I appreciate what an awesome fiscal conservative you are, but I will be voting against reconsideration. So,
Anyone else? Ms. Bovee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to object to the reconsideration as well. I feel like this has already gone through the public process. This was something that the community was overwhelmingly in support of. If we had questions, we should have asked those before we approved it, when we approved the budget. I think it's important that this moves forward in a timely manner. Thank you.
Mr. Sumner? Mr. Hale?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to the manager, just one question. Are we sure we got this thing in the right spot?
So through the mayor to Mr. Hale, part of the process as well is that we intend to go out to the Connect Community Council and have a meeting with the public to have that conversation. Part of that was to request the Connect Community Council to pass a resolution in support of the location as well as the project itself. I think we have it in the right location. We're pretty clear on right-of-way access and our ability to put the crossing where it's been at least templated to be, but we are still planning to go out and have a public meeting with the Connect Community Council and those that want to attend to have that conversation and make sure that we have the Community Council support of the proposed location.
Mr. Sumner?
Yeah, so just going to say
I'm going to oppose reconsidering on this project just because it was in the budget, and I think that was probably the more appropriate time to have this discussion. But I'm going to absolutely oppose any additional money being transferred to this project beyond what was in the budget. I think this is already absurdly expensive.
Okay, we're still on whether or not to reconsider. Anybody else wish to speak to it? Why don't we do Madam Clerk, a vote on the motion to reconsider, so.
Mr. Mayor, the motion to reconsider, and I'm going to look at this one. The motion can reconsider failed with Assemblymember McKee in support.
Okay, so that ends our discussion of AM 21077 and the reconsideration. We could take comments. Is Mr. Spropoulos, any comments? Mr. Manager? Madam Clerk? Mr. Sumner? Ms. Nowers? Mr. Yant? Mr. McKee?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The idea that we spend money on special interest groups, and we do it all the time, by the way. We do it on skiers. Mushers, by the way, are a special interest group. When we did it for the skiers, interestingly enough, they had volunteers out, okay, working on their area out there. It seems to me that the dog mushers don't have any skin in the game out there. I went out and tried to find where the project comes out on the road. It's not marked, folks. Nobody's done any work at all out there. Zero. And nobody, and what we're really doing, I guess, is this. I would ask people this question. If we're going to spend money out there without any kind of analysis, why don't we tax everybody out there to take care of the homeless problem in Wasilla without any explanation? It's exactly the same thing.
Mr. Two. Good thinking. Mr. Hale. Madam Bovee. Well, I'll just say this, the historic Iditarod Trail, I traveled out of Kinnick on that trail many times, running the Iditarod race. Of course, we always had the luxury of having trail guards to cross Burma Road, but I realize as the Mat-Su Borough grows and as it's growing very rapidly, that area is growing and traffic's growing and the potential for somebody getting hit is probably very high. And so once that happens, the footbridges across the Parks Highway, across like Willow Creek, Little Willow Creek, Montana Creek, Cashwitna. You know what it took to build those? A young boy got killed because there was no footbridges across those places. And so for us to prevent that, this is what needs to be done. And we are in a growth situation. And the historic Iditarod Trail too, so far precedes private property rights and ownership. That's what stands out the most to me. And we ought to honor that tradition, of all the gold miners and everything that trail was used for many, many decades and many, many decades before there was private ownership. And so to protect that, and I have total confidence too. I've listened to some of this stuff where the borough doesn't know what to do. I have total confidence in our borough staff, Mr. Kraft and Mr. Dolan, and are turning to make sure that the surveys, the easements are in place. And we're going to know exactly what we're doing, where it's going to be crossing, and that we'll build a very fine, very safe crossing for the future. And we're talking about for the next 100 years. And somebody was correct. When we built the railroad spur line, I think there's 5 different trail bridges that were put in to honor that east-west flow. And that's what it is. It's east-west flow of traffic, recreational traffic. And it's a huge importance to the Mat-Su Borough and the growth of the borough. And I just think it was time to do this. And sometimes things have to be litigated. That easement corridor was litigated. We know exactly what it was, and the Supreme Court upheld it. And so I'm very happy with this. Mr. McKee, it's always your right to do a reconsideration, but I think Ms. Bovee was correct. A lot of this was about the budget when we really proposed this, and so. But anyway, I'll just say goodnight to everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, and take care of yourselves.